Hello everyone, good morning. I hope everyone are well and safe. My name is Tia Haslam and thank you for joining us in today's webinar. I would like to welcome you to our live sessions Never Stop Learning webinar series brought to you by CRM Dynamics, one of the largest Microsoft Gold partner in Canada, 2019 Microsoft Impact Award winner, and a member of Microsoft Global Inner Circle Partners for Business Applications in 2019 and 2020. Now, before we begin our webinar, I would like to take you through some guidelines to ensure that everyone can listen to the presentation. We have muted all the lines, and if you would like to ask questions, please use the chat or question function on your control panel, and we will address them at the end of our session. So in today's webinar, you will be introduced to our Dynamics 365 Customer Insights. You will learn how customer insights work and how organizations are using out-of-the-box machine learning or AI to better understand the behavior, needs, and wishes of your customers. We're very excited today to have Pierre Bertrand, our Senior Business Development Executive at CRM Dynamics, presenting for us today. I hope you enjoy our sessions, and now I would like to invite Pierre to begin his presentation.
So good morning, everyone. All right, so let's get started. So my name is Pierre Bertrand. As Tia was mentioning, I'm in sales at CRM Dynamics. Here's our agenda for today. I'm going to start with a quick introduction of CRM Dynamics. Then I'll give you an overview of the actual customer insights module. We're going to go through a case study of Tivoli, who is using it currently. I'll talk about the architecture, pricing, wrap up, and next steps. So Microsoft, so CRM Dynamics, as Tia was mentioning, we are a gold certified partner in Toronto. And when she mentioned that we are inner circle, that means 1% of partners worldwide. And it also means that we're one of the partners that makes recommendations on the direction of the 365 product. So it's pretty key for us. We've done about 700 projects for over 250 clients. We have implementations in Canada, but also in the US, the Caribbean, and Australia. So we have done large, complex projects. Obviously, if you're one of our clients, you know all about this. But if you are not our client yet, I figured a quick intro would work. Now, customer experience is the new differentiating battleground. So that's why we are so excited with customer insights, because for us, it's the key to better customer experience. And as a salesperson, also as over 20 years of project management experience, I've talked to a lot of customers about 360-degree view. I've talked to grocery companies, gaming and casino organizations, chains of appliance store, clothing retailers, equipment dealers, financial services organizations. But it's never been easy to execute on that vision. Tying in multiple systems that are not necessarily on the same platform is always difficult. But that's really no longer the case. We now have customer insights. That's why we're so excited about it. So what's happening right now is customer expectations are growing. It's even more relevant today. So a lot of customers will want to shop with brands that can recognize them and that provide relevant information. They also want brands who understand them and who have an approach on how to serve them best. Now, what's happening, though, according to research that came out last year, is a lot of customers are frustrated by the inconsistent experience across channels. And by that, we mean answers via email, complaints, online orders, in-store orders, in-branch interactions. And a lot of the content that people are getting is irrelevant. And because of that, about up to 40% will leave. And we see also that a lot of customers have stopped doing business with at least one company last year because of poor customer experience. So to be able to realize that potential, people are spending a lot of money. And right now, almost a third of marketing expenses are on marketing technology. But really, as of last year, less than 10% of businesses have a really true 360-degree view of their customers. And now that only 5% use it to systematically grow their business. But what's happening is the market is exploding for customer data platform. Gartner expects it'll grow to $1 billion in 2020. So this is the time to get in the bandwagon. Your customers are interested in it. Your competition is going there, so really this is the time to really start moving. So the biggest challenges to achieve a customer 360-degree view, there's been a couple of ones that we've referred over the last couple of years. So customer data is in multiple systems and is fragmented. And there's also multiple criteria and approaches used to personalization. Since the silos of data are a different system, the approach typically will be system-based. And data privacy laws have been a problem. So you can bring information across multiple systems, but what authorization do you really have to be able to use the customer information that you're getting? And finally, lack of scalable solution. So if you have 10, 20, 30 customers, if you're a B2B, that's one thing. But if you have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even 1 million customers, what do? What's the platform that can scale and bring all that together across multiple systems? And that's really where customer insights comes in. So here's the Microsoft vision of customer insights. It's to empower organizations to unify and understand the customer data, but really even more important is to derive insights that power the personalization and experiences that they want. So it's one thing to get the data, but really getting the insight to be able to do something with it is completely different. Now, this product is relatively new to Microsoft. It's been around for about 1.5 years now. So here's the information. Here's the results that organizations that are using it have been getting. So on average, 5 to 10% increase in revenue, and on average, 15 to 25% decrease in costs. So increase in revenue, we'll talk about examples later on of identifying customers that are likely to churn. Whether you're in a financial institution, whether you're in an amusement park or any other industry, knowing which one of your current clients are likely to leave you is very important, because then you can really target campaigns and actions towards those people. Much easier to keep existing customers than get a new one. Now, decrease in cost. We talked a couple of minutes ago about getting a lot of content that is not necessarily relevant and timely. A lot of organizations spending a ton of money creating content, creating newsletters, sending out emails where customers don't want them. It's not timely, it's not relevant. So by reducing potentially the amount of communication you're having, but targeting it and making it more impactful, you're increasing your revenue and decreasing your costs. So here's how the project vision works. So the first item is obviously eliminating the data silos and unifying the customer data. So being able to build everything in one place so that you can drive the insights. So number 2 is enabling the insights with AI and BI. So very important here. So you'll see a lot of tools, a lot of AI and machine learning tools that will be leveraged to be able to create that unified view of the customer and to be able to drive actions. And then there's also Microsoft proprietary signals that are going to add to this to finally drive all your business processes. Now, let me give you an example of what a Microsoft signal is. One of the things that's available right now is the ability to see when the best time is to send out an email based on when your customers open their emails and also based on when they reply to you and when they send out emails. So the example, I live in Toronto, there's 2 main grocery delivery services. So usually on Wednesdays around 6 or 7 p.m., I open up those websites. I look at the sites, look at the available delivery times. I put in my grocery order, and then I basically complete it, and I'm set for the following week. But what happens from a customer communication perspective, I get emails pretty much every day from both of these providers at 7 a.m. They're giving me their promotions, they're reminding me of orders, they're sending me a whole bunch of information. How often do I look at my personal email at 7 a.m.? It doesn't really happen. When I'm putting my orders in on Wednesdays at 7 p.m., the email that I got in the morning is probably 3, 4, 5 pages down on my inbox. Now, what about if at 5:50 or 5:30, one of those 2 providers would send me a note saying, hey, there's a promotion on ribeye steaks, which I order almost every week. Would I be likely to see it? Probably, because I'm at the point where I'm looking through my personal email and thinking my grocery order. If there's something that's relevant to what I'm about to do, to my order history, would it be useful? Absolutely, it would. I would certainly take advantage of those offers. Just an example of being able to time messages and make them relevant. And that's very, very difficult when you have multiple platforms, but it gets more and more easy with the Microsoft Customer Insights. So how do we personalize data? So at the heart of personalization is the data source that we get. So first of all, we typically get demographic data. So who's your client, age, geography, contact, education, etc. Then we lay on top of that behavioral data. So what do they do with the organization? Their browsing, their physical interaction, their social data, their product usage. Then you need to add to that transactional data. What are they purchasing online, in store? If you're a financial institution, what products do they have? How many transactions are they doing against their accounts? What are they doing with customer service? Do they have withdrawal deposits? What feedback are they giving you from a service perspective? Are they attending your events? Are they redeeming your offers, etc.? Then you add to that proprietary information. So that's really the things that are specific to your business. That's your secret sauce. So there's data that you'll be getting in your systems that will help enrich the information that you have to be able to really drive the information and the personalization. So this is what you need. But as an organization, usually we're data rich but information or insight poor because of the difficulty in getting all these different sources of data in one spot. So making a difference with 365 Customer Insights. Status quo, we have a lot of clients which have different lines of business. They have different geography, they have different brands, they have different stores, branches, etc. So customer data is spread across multiple databases. We have some clients with up to 15 to 20 systems where they have customer information. There's no joint information, line of business applications and tools are all separate. So the challenge is really bringing all these different points where we have customer information into a unique customer profile. So that's what we're going to be showing you with Customer Insights. So it's mapping all the information together and be able to drive activities, measures, predictions, and segments out of that information. So the potential for AI is really exciting. However, a lot of businesses recognize the potential, they perceive implementing it to be unrealistic for them. So it hasn't been an easy way to implement AI or machine learning. So what's happening is with Microsoft Customer Insights, you're bringing in your external data, you're bringing your internal data. We're using connectors, and we'll talk about that later on. We have connectors to about 40 plus out-of-the-box systems. We're then using AI to unify our data so that we can drive insights with AI machine learning. Now, Microsoft has basically thousands of patents right now on AI. So their tools are used to build your insights. And from then, we can then drive, if you're a Microsoft shop, we can drive information in and out of the marketing modules, the finance modules, retail, talent, supply chain. And then we can also leverage process and automation with Power Apps, Power BI, and Microsoft Flow, for example. What's really exciting, though, about Customer Insights is now you can have the same AI engine, the same connectors, ingesting, bring all your information together, but you can now leverage third-party solutions. So what we mean by that is you can bring information in from SAP, from Salesforce. You can bring it from 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 other systems at the same time. Once you have your insights, once you have your consolidated profile, you can then feed the information back into your third-party solutions, whether it's Marketo, Salesforce, etc., and they can drive actions. So you no longer have to create integrations across all the platforms. You no longer have to be all on one platform, i.e. all on Microsoft. You now have the ability to bring information in and out of third-party systems. And from there, you can drive all your engagement channels, your mobile, your web, your social. You can put in bots and in person. So let's talk about the process of implementing and putting in customer insights. So the first thing is ingestion. So we're going to bring the customer activity and data from all your different sources. And we'll show you some screens on how that works. We are then going to map and match the information. And we have tools, some AI tools that will do that mapping and that matching for you, with the ability also to modify it and refine it. The next thing we do is conflation, so consolidate into a customer profile with source lineage. Then we enrich the data, use the AI models, signals from Microsoft. We also can bring in signals like stock, market, information, news, social posts, etc. Then we drive the insights, which we'll show you examples of, again, with AI and machine learning tools from Microsoft. And from there, you can drive actions. As I mentioned, the actions can be leveraged across all channels with connectors and APIs. So you can use the Microsoft products, or you can also use your own system that you have right now. So the reason customer insights is so important at this point, as I mentioned before, we've been in the CRM business for 20 years. So until last year, when we were bringing in Customer 360 to a client, we had to build integrations. We had to do some hard coding. We were using siloed apps. The time to implement, the time to bring all that information into one central spot was measured usually in months. It required a lot of technical expertise, and you had different stacks. As of last year, i.e. today, you have a finished SaaS solution. It's configurable. You don't need to be a data scientist to configure it and to use it. The time to implement it is measured in weeks or months, or even days, as we'll talk about later on. And it's ready to run by business users. And it's scalable. It's on the Microsoft cloud. So the reality of bringing in Customer 360 is completely different today than it was even 2 or 3 years ago. So let's give you an example. So as a CRM person, when I look at a customer profile like this, so this is what a customer profile would typically look like, or could typically look like, with customer insights. So here you see Patty. She has a high engagement score, 86%. The arrow shows that it's growing, so it's a positive trend in your engagement score. We can bring in from different systems her interest. We can bring in insights from the product she's using. We have average spend. We have her food interest. So this gives you an idea of the kind of information that you can get when you are able to bring in the customer information across multiple channels. So churn risk is an algorithm that's set up in the AI models for Microsoft, and you're able to tweak it. We also have ability to track brand affinity, but this gives you an idea of what a different kind of Customer 360 can look like. Now let's talk about a case study. So Tivoli. The Tivoli Gardens is the second oldest operating amusement park in the world. It just celebrated its 175th birthday. But as is common with them, they only had 2 IT people, so they were a very small IT team. Typically, when you go to the amusement park, you buy a ticket, 1 pass, 1 day pass, 2 day pass. We have that at Canada's Wonderland, just north of Toronto in Canada. But with Tivoli Gardens being the center of the city, they want to offer a subscription model for the park. And the idea being that people can quickly drop in, go for a couple of rides, and continue on with their day. And the challenge was, once subscription was coming up for renewal, they had no idea who was going to renew and who was going to drop off. So they really were having a hard time predicting the revenue stream and what kind of impact that would have. So they had several systems that housed all the information in-house, but they need to figure out a way to bring all this data into a singular profile of a customer. Because unless you understood what the customer does what they're doing, what's happening with them, they're never going to understand if the customer is going to renew or not. So that was really, really key for them. So we're going to show you some actual data from Tivoli. Now, we had to make it anonymous, obviously, when we show you a customer profile. It was really, that was one of the segments they were looking at, but we had to limit the data that we're showing you, but a lot of it is real data from them. So you log into a system, you have the campaigns, all your information is here. 189,000 customers in the area. They saw how many were in Copenhagen. They could see easily how many were having birthdays, and they could see easily how many were going to churn. Let's go through the process that they took. So Tivoli may want to be ingesting information from many sources. I mentioned earlier that we can bring in data from a lot of different sources into customer insights. So you can bring in data from Azure, from Salesforce, from SharePoint. The list is here, it's growing. And you can also use gateway connectors, API, etc. So if I go back to the classic CRM implementations that we had done over the last 15 years, bringing in all these sources could have taken weeks or months. So now it's a matter of days. It took Tivoli basically days to ingest the information. It was very, very simple. Now, the next part after you look and figure out which systems you want to bring in is to set up your data sources. So very easy here. They had 9 different data sources where the customer data resided. GLX, for example, shows where a customer is specifically in the park, close to what service. They were already using Dynamics 365, so it was easy to pull in 16 entities into the system, but they were also using Sitecore for the website, Falcon.io to track social information, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And they even had a system called Galaxy, which registered which ride the attendee had been on. So they were able to bring all that information into customer insights very easily. So the next step is to unify the data. So unify the data is a 3-step process. It's to map, match, and merge. I'm going to give you an idea how that works. And this is where some of the AI tools really shine for this process. Let's talk about mapping. So you start with a system. Let's say you start with Dynamics, which is the case here. The system will recognize what the key is for the data. So here it's suggested that your key would be the contact ID, but you can change that if you want. So if I'm listed in one system as Pierre Bertrand, as Pierre H. Bertrand, another one, P. Bertrand, another one, there was really nothing right now to link me together across all these different profiles. So that's what the primary key is doing. It's linking the two tables, the tables together for the application. So before we build massive Excel sheets, trying to map everything out, trying to clean the data, but now as simple as a data analyst looking at data, setting up what the primary key is. The system does a suggestion, but you can change it. You verify it's correct, and then you're good to go from a mapping perspective. So the next step then is to match. Let's show you what that looks like. So here's what happened with Tivoli. So they had 2.1 million contacts. So what the system told them is, well, you really have, with our matching, we really find that you've got 1.8 million because we're able to match 1.1 million of your records. What the system shows you is the matching for each different system. So Dynamics 365 is the primary. They decided to go with Sitecore second. They were able to match 47% of the records. The Falcon source had a very low matching rate, and some of the other logs that they had were much higher at 68%. So this enables them to see quickly what matching they had. Really, really important. Now, as you see, matching was not perfect. So what we have is matching rules and matching order. So here you're able to set up all the rules you want. For example, the email is matched. Right now, we see that out of Dynamics, Sitecore, we're matching name and email, 47%. This suggestion was made by the system, by the Microsoft AI system. So at this point, a business analyst can say, well, I'd like to see if I can increase my records matched. Something you could do, for example, is then change your match to first name and email and see what you get. You might be getting 60, 70, 80%. because you might have a Pierre Bertrand, a P Bertrand, a Pierre H Bertrand. So you can play with it a bit and refine your matches based on the data that you have. So suggestions come up automatically. You refine your rules a little bit. As you can see, it's very easy to define your rules. And then you see right away the impact on your records match. And editing the rules is easy as pressing that little button here. You go in and edit the rules, and they're very easy to manage. Obviously, if your records matched, change in the second system that you're looking at, your matching will likely increase in the subsequent systems because you'll have better data. So this is an overview of how the system matches. Then the next thing is segments. So let's talk about segments for a couple of minutes. One of the first things the business want to look at from a Tivoli perspective was customers located in Denmark that have a high churn score. And what I mean by churn score is if you have a high churn score, you're likely to churn. If you have a low churn score, you're unlikely to churn. You're likely to remain a customer. So first question people usually ask is, how does that churn score calculated? Well, that's where the AI comes in again. So the AI models runs over the segmentation data and produces a score. In the case of Tivoli, it was about if a customer was located in Denmark, whether they visited the gardens 4 times a year, how many times they visited, what rides they went on, what social information did they post, etc. And this churn model is updated 4 times a day. So they basically ran the churn model and started to visualize information for the board, for their board of directors, and for the team that was tasked with trying to forecast what the revenue was going to be. So this is what they got. Just an idea of what the dashboard looks like there. So if the info was good, but what did marketing do with it? So if you're looking here, see churn score is varying over time. You saw last purchase average over time. Average churn score is very low for them, 0.86, and that means that almost no one leaves. Annual lifetime revenue was relatively low, so it gave them a lot of useful information. And this is good data, real data. So let's look at a couple of things that Tivoli drilled down in. So I'm going to take you through some of the profiles, but really when they look at the data, these were segments, but just to keep the data anonymous, we don't want to share too much of their information. I'm just going to show you some profiles. So we're looking at Victoria, but Victoria is really, as I mentioned, a segment. So if some of you have a CRM system, you have to admit it's difficult to get this kind of 360-degree view of a customer unified across multiple systems. So you see here, Victoria, see her information, you see the data sources where we have her profile, where her profile was aggregated from. You see her segmentation. So if you think about this as a segment, interest would be the interests that are similar across that segment. That segment can be 2, 3, 4, 500 people. You see their average lifetime span, their last purchase amount on average, their churn score. This was a segment with a very low churn score. Someone was very loyal to the system. You see that they're highly qualified. They have a couple of leads, highly engaged. And in the timeline here, you see everything that's happening. So you see any apps that they're accessing, rides. For them, you could see which ride the person had accessed. You could see that they were, where they were in the system, how often they showed up at the park, etc. So if you think about it, as you run as a marketing team, as you run activities on a segment like this, imagine then if you could see real time, several times a day, or even every couple of days, every week if you want, the impact of what you're doing. So you send them an offer, you put them on a marketing journey or marketing list, then you start sending the communication and offer. If you see the churn score going up, what you're doing is not working. It's having a negative effect. You might be sending your customers data that is not relevant. They might be unsubscribing. If you see the churn score maintaining, but if you see, for example, the last purchase amount, the lifetime spend going up, then what you're doing is working. But it's very difficult for most organizations to get this kind of visibility across multiple systems and multiple silos to be able to really see the impact of what you're doing, and really also have the levers, the interest, what they're doing, how they're interacting with us to be able to drive all those marketing activities. Let's look at Niels. So Niels has a high churn score, a very high churn score. As you see, it's 95.8%. So very, very low engagement, as you can see also. So what happens here? So we see that he went to a concert a while ago. This was a true case. So obviously, as an amusement park, every Friday night they have a rock concert, another kind of concert. So what they did for this segment of people that had high churn score but that liked concert, if you think about an amusement park, you've got 5,000-10,000 people attending a concert. Adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 100, even 500 people to that concert, there's no extra cost. It's open, it's outside, there's lots of space. So what they did is marketing sent an automated promotion out to his mobile device, the mobile device of people in that segment. And they basically said, come to this concert for free. But they also want to attract other customers. So they said, you can bring a friend to this concert, and while you're there, we'll give you a free beer for you and your friend. So what happened there is pretty interesting. So because Tivoli also operates in a B2C environment and a B2B environment, Niels has an open lead up here that you'll see in the engagement, because Niels also had inquired about a corporate event at the park. Now, he had used his corporate email for that, but he used his personal email for all the other interactions he had with the park. So being able to bring all this into one customer profile gave Tivoli the visibility that Niels is not just a high churn, not so high value customer, but he also is an influencer and has an impact on some business leads that we have for the park. So that was quite interesting to see. So let's see what happened after that. So this is a view in CRM. So you've got Niels. The relationship assistant on the right says there's a promo due, bring a friend to the concert. This would be the view of Niels in CRM. So what happened after? If you look here in the timeline, so it's a promotion, free royal beer. There's a promotion, bring a friend to a rock concert. There was an event for company meeting. So the concert was an AHA concert. He consumed the bring a friend to the concert. So he basically went in, he invited someone else. They went in, they consumed the free beer promotion. So you get all that information from the beer stands, you get information from the attendance, from the concert, from all the different areas. And now, if you look at the churn score, it's down to 40%. So it went from 95 to 40% churn score, because now his engagement is up. He's looking at emails. He's looking at the site. He's looking at upcoming concerts. So they were able to really turn around the interactions of Niels and of that segment that they were looking at, just by understanding better what they had done before, i.e. attending concerts, the fact that they were not engaged, and by giving them an offer that was timely. The concert is coming up, that was relevant. They had been to concerts before. They're not necessarily into some of the other activities. So they were able to drive a lot of differentiation and a lot of positive impact on the business. Let's look at another example. So we do a lot of greeter apps. We're doing some greeter apps for companies that sell condominiums. We do greeter apps for people in financial organizations. So this is an example that Microsoft built for financial institutions. So if you imagine, greeter apps in the past were probably based on what was in your ERP system or what was in your CRM system. Now imagine a greeter app. If someone comes in, they identify themselves. The person working at your organization can now get much better information. So customer check-in here, for example, you see all the activities easily that the person has had. If you're a financial institution, you can see the account balances, you can see transactions, you can drive recommendations. So it really allows you to bring the information from all the different systems that you're working on into one spot and give that information to your agents, to the people that are serving your customers. We're looking at these kinds of applications in retail, in financial services, in condo sales, etc. So very, very useful and a very good application of what you can do with the information from customer insights. And here's another example of activities for a retail organization. So cases or complaints, returns, etc. Recent point of sale purchases, rewards, high value customer identified, and recommendations. High value customer is one thing that is often difficult to identify across multiple channels, and that becomes very easy with customer insights. Also the recommendations, if you're able to bring information from different systems, the recommendations can be really, really improved and more relevant to the customer experience. Let's move over to give you a bit of an idea on pricing. Obviously, we're going through this really quickly. There's lots of information. We're available to give you more information, but I want to give you an idea of pricing for this solution. So there's two pieces. There's the application and the capacity add-on. So the application is about $19.20 per month for 100,000 profiles and the insights, like customer churn, lifetime value, etc. So you have 20 insights and KPIs. And then if you have a larger number of customers, you can buy also additional capacity add-on. And these are the Microsoft licensing prices. Now, next steps, and as you see, we'll have lots of time for questions if you have questions. So we're going to put our money where our mouth is. So 2 days to first insights. If you recall before, I mentioned that before bringing in information from different systems could easily take weeks or months. So we're proposing a workshop for those who are interested. It's a hands-on learning experience for your team where we show you how it works. We develop a plan with you. We bring in 2 or 3 of your data sources. We show you the matching criteria. We do the data unification for up to 3 sources so you can start seeing insights. So what we're proposing is not to have everything implemented and tie in your 15 systems into one, but from a proof of concept perspective, 2 days to get your first insights. You get the licenses, we'll help you set it up, then you're able to start almost immediately in days rather than weeks or months. So Tia, I'm going to pass it on to Tia now to have a look at the questions that people have posted. I'd be happy to answer questions for the next 15 minutes if you have 15 minutes of questions. Go ahead, Tia.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Pierre. So again, if you have any question, please begin to type them into the question box for us, and we'll try to answer them for you. I've noticed that we have a couple questions just came in. Question number 1, how many systems can we tie in with customer insights to get the 360-degree view?
Good question. There's really not a limit of number of systems you can tie. You can tie 20, 30, 40, 50 systems, not a problem. Each system is refreshed every 6 hours for incremental data, so that's not a problem either. So from a capacity or an ease of connecting, as I mentioned earlier, there's over 40 different connectors available out of the box, and it's very easy to add connectors. We can tie into APIs or any other type of integration. So it's very easy to connect many systems. Typically, you do a first load to bring all the data into the data lake, and then subsequent loads are incremental on your data. But there's no limit on the number of systems you can tie in.
Great. Thanks, Pierre. I have a second question. So do you know if the prices that you quoted is in Canadian dollars?
Yes, it's in Canadian dollars.
Thank you very much. So yes, the price quoted are in Canadian dollars. I have a second question. Do you see a lot of customer in the B2B space using customer insights?
Oh, that's a really good question. So the example I gave was really for B2C with Tivoli. And I also talked about financial institutions with that greeting app. Right now, the results that I talked about with the increase in revenue and decrease in cost is all B2C. You can use it for B2B, but it's going to be easier to use with B2B with the release coming out from Microsoft in October. So right now it's set up mostly for B2C. B2B can be done, but B2B is going to be easier. The model is going to be easier using accounts rather than contacts in the October release this year.
Great. Thank you, Pierre. I have the last question that just came in. Do you know if Customer Insight have the capability to integrate with other systems like Salesforce, and how difficult it is to integrate with other systems aside from Microsoft?
So absolutely. So there's an out-of-the-box Salesforce connector, so we can bring data into Salesforce and back out from Salesforce and back out to Salesforce. Same thing with SAP. Same thing with, as I mentioned, there's over 40 connectors. So the beauty of this system is you don't necessarily need to switch to the Microsoft stack all at once to be able to get the customer insights. You no longer need to spend all the time to do complex integrations. Out of the box integration with Salesforce, you've got information on your customer profiles. You've got your cases potentially in Salesforce, your leads, your opportunities. You bring all that in, tie that into with your ERP system, tie that in with your point of sale, tie that into anything else that you have, generate your segments, and then you can feed that back. You can feed back your churn, your lifetime value, all your information back into Salesforce or into Marketo or into any other application you have to be able to drive actions based on the insights that you get out of customer insights.
Perfect. So I don't see any additional questions in the control panel. On that note, I would like to thank our participant for attending our webinar. And Pierre, thank you so very much for sharing your knowledge and experience with us today. The recorded versions from this webinar will be available in our YouTube channel. You can subscribe, like, or share our channels at CRM Dynamics CA to learn more about Microsoft Dynamics 365 or other relevant topics. And if you would like to set up a one-on-one discussion, please feel free to contact us at experts@crmdynamics.ca and visit our website at crmdynamics.com to learn more. Thank you again, everyone, for your time, and have a Dynamics day. Take care.